One Extra.
Hi, my name is Twin B, and you can normally catch me on a Monday night at 10 p.m. on the biggest, baddest One Extra. But tonight, we're handing over the reins to One Extra Talk, where we're focusing on mental health issues and well-being and trying to get you talking about what's going on inside our heads. Now, in January, we launched My Mind and Me. It's a year-long campaign to encourage young people to explore issues surrounding their mental health.
I'm Brigitte Teta. I'm a BBC journalist and presenter. You can find me on Breakfast in Berkshire and doing BBC Introducing up there as well. Tonight is a very special show, and it's all about spreading awareness about how young people within Black and Asian communities across the UK are affected by issues surrounding mental health. So in a moment, we're going to introduce you to our panel of very special guests. But the most important part of tonight is to get you involved and to get you to take part in the discussion.
Yeah, man, it's the most important bit, to be honest. Now, we want to hear your opinions and experiences as well. Whether you agree or not, we want to hear from you. Now, this is an open and honest space to discuss everything from dealing with your own or a loved one's experience of mental illness to whether or not there's a stigma about mental illness problems within the Black and Asian communities. You can watch and listen live on BBC Radio 1 Extra and Asian Network websites, and you can get in contact with us. That's the most important bit. Please conversate. It's a proper open conversation here tonight. 8811, we see every text, or you can tweet us at 1XTRA or BBC Asian Network, all one word. And if you're going to go on Twitter, please, you know it's all about the hashtag, innit? One Extra Talk is the hashtag, all one word. And we're also live on One Extra Facebook page, where we have my brethren, Miss Yasmin Evans and Grace Victory, keeping across all the comments that are coming in today. So talk to us, and even more important, talk to each other as well. You know, when those feeds just go mad, we love that. That's what we want to happen tonight.
So our aim over the next 90 minutes is to have an open and honest conversation, as Twin was saying, about how people struggling with their mental health issues can feel stigmatised. And to help us with that conversation, we have a panel of special guests joining us. So first up, he's a BAFTA award-winning actor, he's a director and a rapper. We've got Adam Deacon. Make some noise. Now, you may know her as Isabella Gotti, is UK rapper Nole.
Hello, people.
Panel's amazing, actually. We've got Rupa Bhatia, who's a counsellor with expertise with young adults and women. Hi, Rupa.
Yep. And my mate is here as well, the multi-talented One Extra and Asian Network DJ, Mim Sheikh, is here as well. Yeah, man. Psychotherapist Dawn Estefan is here as well. She runs a popular Black women's therapy group.
Yeah.
And Rap Man, who has personal experiences of close friends who have attempted to take their own lives. So please give it up for everyone who's made time to come here tonight to talk. Really appreciate it, man. And as well as our lovely panel, we've also got not one, but two live performances from two very talented people. Mr. Nick Brewer is in the building. Make some noise for Nick. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hussein Manaware's in the house as well. Yeah. And as you can probably hear, for those listening live on the radio, it's not just us on the panel. There are some people in the background for Atmos and for Convo and all of that. Is there a studio audience here tonight? A bit, maybe. Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's get into it, shall we? Now, with 3/4 of mental health problems emerging before the age of 25, tonight we want to find out more about the issues and hear real stories and give you some information on where to go for advice and support. So we should say from the outset that we're going to be covering some really sensitive topics, and the show may contain some strong language.
Yeah, man. Now, remember, get involved. It's the most important bit. There are loads of people listening at home. We want to hear your experiences. You can text us 8811, or you can tweet us at 1XTRA or at BBC Asian Network. We are across both stations live. And if you're going to do either of those things, please use the hashtag OneExtraTalk or join the conversation on Facebook live feed. And to those in the studio audience, we will be coming to you for input as well. So we want to see your hands raised when we get into discussion and stuff. And our team are going to run around with a mic. So we'd love to hear from you. Please get involved.
When I think of mental health, the first thing I think of is taboo.
People tend to overlook the issues surrounding mental health. They don't take it very seriously.
If, for example, if you're physically injured, people would regard that as serious. Mental health, like you don't see it. You don't see someone suffering.
I feel my parents do understand mental health to a certain extent.
when it comes to getting help for mental health, I feel like there's a stigma that they feel is around it, that you could jeopardise your potential career by admitting you have a problem or going to go and get help.
I have always thought about mental health, but I haven't been able to just kind of come out and say it.
So let's get straight into some of those experiences, and I'm turning my attention to the man sitting next to me. He is an actor. His name is Deacon. Hey, Adam, how you doing?
What's going on?
Now, you have your own personal experience of dealing with mental health issues, and like for people who just don't know and sitting there listening in, can you just tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, it was something that I felt didn't really affect me for many years. So it was something you hear about and just thought it was one of them things. Didn't really understand it at all. And then all of a sudden in my life, it just kind of went a bit all over the place. I was feeling like I wasn't myself, and it was just a really hard time. And I guess you could call it a breakdown in a sense. It was quite a public breakdown, and I just learned a lot about myself. I was diagnosed with bipolar, and I didn't know I had it. So it kind of explained a lot of stuff that, what I mean is that, you know, there used to be jokes between my friends and stuff like that. There's something with you, Ad, man. Like, you sure you ain't got bipolar? And it became a bit of a joke through many years, because for me, I was quite a creative person. I'd be really on it. Like, when I get creative, I'd be really on it. But then I wouldn't switch off. And then I'd go through stages where I'd be quite down and I didn't really want to do anything, but I couldn't really understand it. And then it wasn't until, you know, this kind of public breakdown happened that I got diagnosed with bipolar, and it made a bit more sense of why I was like that. And it was quite,
You mentioned there the public breakdown. Is like you went through your issues in the media, in the press. There were headlines about what was going on for you. What was that like?
It was really hard, because I was kind of in another place in my head. I wasn't with it at the time. So when it was all happening, I kind of needed help at that time. I really needed to get my brain focused and get a bit of help, but I wasn't with it. So I was doing all these things that wasn't me, and it was all happening quite public. And then, you know, I ended up going to hospital, got sectioned, and then I felt like I dealt with it. I felt like I was in a much better place, and I was ready to kind of get back on my life and live a better life. But then the next thing, it was all out in the media. So it kind of happened after. It was after I sorted myself out. It was all over the papers, and Adam got sectioned, and Adam was on the train looking like this and this, like that. And that was really hard, because I wasn't expecting that. So it was not only dealing with my journey and what I need to deal with, working out how I need to change my life, but it was also that fear of people's perceptions and how people are going to look at you now and all that you kind of have to deal with, and the stigma that's attached.
We're going to come on to like stigma in a bit, but you know that period of being sectioned, because that's quite a frightening phrase for a lot of people. Like, what happened? What do you remember of that time?
So it was a really weird time, because I felt I was doing quite well at the time. I was filming a program called Babylon, which was all about police, and I was playing a police officer. And what I think happened is I finished that job, and something clicked within me, and I I was in a really dark place. I kind of isolated myself, didn't even want to speak to anyone. Don't really know why that happened, to be honest with you. It was just, I was just thinking quite deep, and I didn't know, if I'm being honest, what was going on. And so I kind of isolated myself, and I had friends knocking on my door saying, Adam, you need to come out, we need to see you. And I turned off, I wouldn't let them in. And then at the same time, I kind of had a situation with another actor that was building up for a long time, and I didn't know how to deal with that. And something just clicked, and it just kind of all came out online. And I put out all this stuff, and I think there was I didn't really know what I was doing. I was kind of all over the place. I was feeling paranoid, I was feeling lost. As I said, I didn't know what was happening. And then I've kind of, you know, I let my friends inside finally, and I spoke to my friends, and they were like, bro, we need to get you some help, because something's not right. And I was pretty anti it, to be honest. And what kind of happened was my friend was like, look, let's go to hospital, let's talk to them, let's just see. And it was quite a scary thing, because I went to hospital, I spoke to them, and they said to me, okay, I remember the day really clearly. They were like, we want you to come to this other hospital just to talk to some nurses and doctors. And when I got there, they just kind of closed the door and told me we wanted to stay here. And that hit me hard because it was like, what? What do you mean? I can't get out of here. They're like, well, no, you're not really well, and you need to be here. And I was fighting that. I wanted to get out of there. You know, I was like trying everything I could to get out of there. I didn't feel like I need to be there. But over the couple of weeks that I was there, I felt like this needed to happen because I wasn't well. I was going through something. And it was only once I had that time out, you know, no phones, not in communication with all the other people that I normally talk to, just time to really focus on myself. When I came out, I was feeling a lot better. So I feel like I needed it. But it was hard. It was hard. It's still quite hard.
It's amazing that you seem to be coming through some of the issues and problems that you had, and obviously being diagnosed with an actual illness as well. I mean, do you feel like because you went through something in such a public way, things like that have helped the awareness of mental illness? Yeah,
it was such a weird one because if it was up to me, I probably wouldn't have put it out there public because I was scared of the stigma. So I came out of hospital thinking, okay, it's kind of done now, get on with my life. As I said, it all came out in the media. I was really taken back by it. I didn't know what to do. And then I just felt like the only thing I can do, really, is to embrace it and to kind of own it, that the fact this did happen, people know about it, so what's the point of kind of not talking about it? And kind of going through it all and meeting the people that I met in hospital and people that just come up to me on the street and talk about their own issues, it really dawned on me how much of an issue this is to so many people, and that it's actually unbelievable how many people do go through this. And that was something that really kind of made me feel a bit better about it all, that, yeah, this is something that a lot of people go through, and if I can kind of use what I've been through to kind of raise the issue and get people talking, then of course I'll do it.
And also, a lot of people are indirectly affected by mental health. Now, Nole, you've not been someone who's shy to talk about some of your personal experience and how you've been affected. Your dad suffered from schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Now, how was that for you?
That went on through basically my whole life. I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't really know about it because my mum didn't really tell me about it, but my dad would he'd leave and be like, I'm going shop, and then wouldn't come back. He'd go missing for like weeks, and nobody would know where he was. And when they first diagnosed my father, they diagnosed him with depression. So they diagnosed him wrongly, so he didn't even know that he had schizophrenia. The reason why I speak about it so openly is because I feel like as an artist with a voice, it's important for me to do so. Now, with being a rapper, being an MC, it's all good having your gas tunes and tunes that people can dance to and all the rest of it, but I think that it's down to us to use our platform for better. I feel like more people suffer from mental illness than would actually let on. I feel like even, you know, I know someone, I don't want to say no names, but he went to the doctors about depression. And they just gave him some antidepressants, because they do that in the doctors. They just throw them out like it's nothing. They gave him antidepressants, and when he's talking to the doctor said, everyone's depressed. Everyone. Politicians, this, that, just give them out like it's nothing. So I just think that I've got two of my best friends. One suffers from psychosis. Another one suffers deeply from depression. For me, they're normal to me, innit? But it might be just because I've been through it all my life and I've seen it, so I understand it. I feel like a lot of people, they don't understand it. So the moment that you say mental illness, they get scared. So what does that mean? Like, what, are you dangerous? You know what I'm saying? Are you gonna hurt me? It doesn't always mean that. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like people have to learn to understand like mental illness better, and even the help, I think, that's offered to people, I don't feel like it's sufficient. I don't feel like it's good enough. Like my father, when my father was in like the mental hospital, I'd go there and like I'd go and see him, and he's literally like a vegetable. Like he'll talk to me, but when he's talking to me, like he's slurring like his words when he's speaking to me, he's put a lot of weight on, you know, and that's because the medication that they have them on, it's almost to the point where they've got so much people in there that suffer from an illness that they don't have enough nurses and that to like kind of, you know, like keep an eye on them. So they kind of like sedate everybody. So my main thing was I feel like even in some of these hospitals, they need to get more going on, like, you know, like even like physical activities. Like have, you know, I don't know if you have five-a-side football or something, like have them doing something. Don't just have them all sitting around like, just sedated.
It's really interesting, really like, you know, we really appreciate the fact that you're open about your indirect experiences. It's not something that gets discussed a lot. Just show of hands wise, has anyone been indirectly affected by mental health by members of their family, friends, stuff like that? So a lot more people than you'd let on.
Yeah, we've got loads of hands going up. Can you keep your hands up, and we're going to come to you in just a second. In fact, let's go to the lady in a moment who's in that lovely white blouse in the front, the shaved hair. Yeah, so we'll get to you in a second. But I want to just bring Mim in here, because you've got really similar story to Nole, only this time not talking about dad, but your mum. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, I've grown up my whole life just not knowing how my mum is and not knowing the reason behind the way her mind works. Just having that in my life and being like, everyone's mum is like this, you know, not able to express feeling or not able to show affection in a way that is quite a core fundamental principle to a mother's job, and never having that in my life. It's only recently, very recent, in the past 12 months that I've been able to understand and ask why and question not just her but a lot of individuals' minds and why they make the decisions that they make. And growing up and realizing and reading through medical records and seeing all these things that she suffered from having a nervous breakdown, she had forms of psychosis, she experienced hysteria, she went through panic attacks, all from a loss of a relationship that didn't work well for her. And we're all fragile as human beings, like, full stop. That's like reality. I don't think no one can turn around and say, no, I'm not fragile, because we are. I think different people have gone through things that are even more detrimental and can make them even more sensitive than other people. And that is something that I learned about my mum. And then I realized what effect that started having on me, you know, and why, imagine a child growing up for 24 years, not having an answer to why his mother is the way she is, and then kind of just dealing with the world in a normal way, because no family member has sat you down and gone, you know, your mother has experienced this and this because of this. You have to learn it yourself. And I think that's the problem. I think the problem is there's, I don't know what the reasons are, but there's not an ability to communicate these things that are so sensitive that just get brushed under the carpet. But you can't just brush such an important topic like that under the carpet, because you're dealing with someone's life. And people need to know reasons as to why people are the way that they are and how they can communicate with these people, especially if it's somebody as close as like your mother.
We're going to come back and hear a little bit more from you, Mim, in a second, but I want to get to some of these hands that are up in the audience, and let's get to the lady in the white shirt and the bald head. Stand up for us. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Nikki O. Hi, everybody. My situation came from actually losing my hair to a medical condition called alopecia. So what happened, it was a build-up of emotions and feelings, all manner of thoughts that constituted me going through a state of depression. And I didn't actually know what it was. I didn't even know what alopecia was. I just noticed that my hair started falling out my head. And I lost my eyebrows and eyelashes, and I kept it quiet for a very long time. Coming from a Nigerian background, it was almost like taboo to talk about hair loss syndrome or anything like that. So I went through a real deep bout of depression, and I found that nobody was around to talk to about these things because I didn't get to do it. I found that the church wasn't a place to talk about it at the time. And so eventually I was given some pills to take to subdue the way I was feeling. But I went and overdosed on them to try and commit suicide because I was just tired of everything. I didn't know what was going on with myself. And so I was in hospital for about 3 months recovering from what I tried to do with those pills. But now I've actually used it as a platform as well to talk to other women. I've embraced my boldness, clearly. Thank you. And I'm grateful for platforms like this because it does raise awareness, and it also causes people to stop the process of trying to commit suicide or doing anything that can harm them or anybody else before it's too late. Hearing from people who have the platform, like this young lady said, who are in the artist industry, it helps young people because they listen to you. You're what they're hearing. So having such places like this to do such a thing, I think is awesome. I'm grateful to be here.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you doing it. Thank you. I want to turn our attention to Dawn.
Can I just say, though, like, you look really good with no hair. I'd look awful if I was bald. Serious.
Beautiful, lovely head
you look
shape.
beautiful.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I'd look mad.
Yeah, man.
Let's bring in Dawn Esteban. Dawn, you are hearing all these stories, people being so honest about what they've been through. How common is it for you to hear that people are going through these issues?
To hear, obviously with the job that I do, I'm a psychotherapist, so to hear these types of stories is an everyday process for me. I think what's more interesting is how long it takes them to get to me, or how long they've been experiencing the things that they've been experiencing. And I think that's something that I'm hoping the conversation here will help bring awareness of. For example, the lady who just spoke about hair loss and alopecia, this is the type of thing that if you say to someone that, oh, I feel down about, they're like, get over it. Yeah. There's other things, more important things. But when we live in a world today where we're so image conscious, especially with all the different constraints that black women are supposed to step into in terms of their identity, this is something that could cause you to feel quite depressed, actually, because your sense of self is really important. Again, when you spoke about the experience of being a child of a mother that's depressed and how your mother related to you, well, how a child relates to the mother is how you build your sense of self. So how you go into the world later on, how you interact, the way that you feel about relationships with other people, the way you respond to touch. I mean, these are the things that it's not just the children and their relationships to their parents, it works vice versa. I see a lot of people who come in to see me who say, I think my mum must have been depressed. But because we don't talk about mental health openly, we never really know what's going on around us, and that in itself is quite disorientating.
What are some of the issues that stop discussion about mental health in the Black and Asian communities?
Well, if we're looking within the paradigm of why we're here today in terms of Black and Asian youth. Okay, these are two cultures where it's very different on the mental health spectrum. Asian people are underrepresented in terms of mental health statistics. African Caribbean are overrepresented. But the thing that bonds the two together is the fact that silence is one of the biggest enemies in the fight against mental health. And that's really what stops people from getting to me. That's what has people from the Black and African Caribbean community, wider community, getting into services at a much later stage of their mental health discomfort. Okay, so I know you want to talk about stigma a little bit later on, but the silence is a big thing. That combined with the stigma is a killer.
Ratman, thank you for coming today. Dawn just touched on silence. Yeah. Black man to black man. A lot of people say we don't talk enough. And you've been affected by that in some of your friendships. Do you want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, for me, I'm not no expert or nothing, but certain people that I thought they was fine. I got a call one day from a friend saying, you know what, I was calling to say goodbye. Nothing out here for me. It's all going wrong for me. It's long. I'm dying. I'm going. I'm like, where you going? I'm like, where you going? What holiday? I'm not even thinking about it. And he's like, nah, bro, I'm going, man. I'm going. I'm leaving this planet, man. It's nothing for me, man. No one's gonna miss me. And I just remember I'm just trying to keep him on the phone because it's starting to sound serious now. I'm thinking he's playing at first. And I've managed to stay on the phone while I'm driving over to his house now. He let me in, which was a miracle because he weren't letting me in for ages. And he was literally, he had like pills upon pills there and water and notes written for people. And he's like, what was mad for me is on the outside, he looked like he was living life. Like, I'm talking about fly cars, jewelry, Rolex chains. Like, he's known, he was a big man from where we come from. Like, everyone knew that, you look at this guy, he's not one of the ones you need to worry about on the outside, but I don't know, apparently a girl broke his heart and loss of money is he's gone from that level to this level, so he's a failure. Brother, to me, that's when I realized, raw. Like, long story, I don't want to go into too much detail because he's not here, but I managed to kind of tell him, like, you're all right. But he didn't look like that guy suffering. Like, from the outside looking in, you would never think this guy had a problem in the world. Like, if you were going to go by materialistic things, he had it all. Like, so it just goes to show, you just don't know what people are going through. And then I asked him, I remember asking him, why didn't you speak to me? He goes, what, so man can look weak? What, so man can look like I'm some waste man? What, so man can start thinking I'm not that guy? Like, man can't, like, it's just literally black man to black man. from a street background as well, it's not the shot. You don't tell man if you're feeling that way. You got to bottle it up, you got to hide it somehow, but you can't be
I feel like that's men in general, though.
Yeah,
I feel like that's men in general. Like, to be quite honest, I don't want to say the percentage because I'm not quite sure of it, but even suicide, how much men commit suicide every year is a lot higher than females, and that's because they're taught, like, you know, from early, don't show no emotion, don't be emotional, you're a man, 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 to the point.
We'll definitely be talking about this later in depth, 100%. It's one of those conversations that's going to overspill online. Please jump in and get involved as well.
I just want to say, talking about online, if you want to get some more information on the One Extra homepage, you can find a link to the My Mind and Me website, and that has loads of useful advice for dealing with mental health issues, just if you're looking for some extra advice.
For sure. Now, right after this next song, we'll be asking for your experiences on getting help for a mental health problem. Is it an easy process? Nole touched on it a little bit. How have you found talking about your mental health to friends and family? And don't forget, we want to hear from you as well, so please keep your comments rolling. And if you're listening, this is actually live on our Facebook page, streaming and stuff as well. So text us as well. We see all your texts, 88811, or you can tweet us on @OneExtra or @BBC Asian Network, all one word. And as I mentioned, if you're watching this on Facebook Live via the One Extra Facebook, my brethren, Miss Yasmin Evans, will be going through some of your comments in the social hub. But right here on One Extra and Asian Network, it's Hussein Manaware performing his current single, I'm Ashamed.
BBC Radio. I need to fall in love with the world again and see things the way I used to see them when I was 10. So give me 9 boxes of chalk and watch me play hopscotch. A blanket and a mattress and I'll build a castle, I'll sit there on night watch. Can somebody please put a tooth under my pillow? I'm praying this fairy flies through my window. I'm singing B-I-N-G-O because Bingo was his name-o. I need a blue paper towel to wipe away all my worries. Mr. Patel's on Fridays to get sweets for my little tummy. I owned a packed lunchbox, a book bag, my name was stuck on a tray. Stories by the road dial, you know the BFG never led us astray. I'm holding my breath before I make my birthday wish. My year 1 class never found Nemo, but we found a rainbow fish. Running through the playground, Bulldog was mental. We had the deepest conversations around the classroom bin whilst sharpening our HB pencils. Let me run to the back of the coach on a school trip. I felt like Dumbledore put the sorting hat on my head and was like, Hussein, you're chosen for this. McDonald's drive-thru, we're talking to this robotic person who gives you whatever you want, and each time it comes in a small little box with a small little person. I remember the day a nosebleed would be the worst possible disaster, and being Pakistani and from Ilford, parents' evening had me scared of going home after. And I really wonder if it's still there. The back of my exam desk when I wrote Hussein was here. The don't try this at home didn't stop any of us from wrestling. Christian had a BMX, we broke his stump heads and chains, that's how fast we were pedaling. And the animals went in 2 by 2, hurrah, yeah, hurrah. I'm still convinced the staff room was a secret hidden theme park. Toys are a million all under one roof, but Toys R Us was too expensive to go for all of us, and that's just the truth. We discovered Soul Solid and learned how to rap, and I know for a fact, each one of you remember that one kid in school that wouldn't really care and would jump over the playground wall to get your footballs back. I'm dancing with my trainers that light up, nobody could ever stop me. I was not raised on Instagram, Snapchat and Facebook. It was football stickers, Beyblades and yellow Tamagotchis. When Ab broke his arm, we graffitied his sling. You knew it was going to be a mad rave when you walked into the school hall and saw a packet of party rings. Now, do you want to know something I can do? I never figured out Pythagoras, but give me a scientific calculator, I'll turn it upside down, I'll type a few numbers, I'll show you how to write boobs. Sports day, now we're all 100-meter sprinters, Windows XP users, HP inject printers. We're getting 1-hour detentions for our fake parent signatures. Non-uniform day, tracksuits and trainers, panda pops in our blazers. Cassettes and CDs, floppy disks, MP3s. A life with no issues and moments to breathe. Sabrina was a teenage witch. Helga always bullied Arnold. Kel loved orange soda. And nobody ever won Takeshi's castle. And that's why sometimes in life I feel like my luck's up. Because man would give anything in the world for one more game of heads down, thumbs up. So let me mime in singing assemblies. I never knew the songs. Let me lean back on my chair. I only learn when I'm wrong. Let me bring sherbet straws to the disco. Let me feel like a don. Let me relive all the memories of the playground, because that's where I belong, the playground. Now that's where we would all handle our business. The land of the young, wild, free, freaky, and ambitious. We're trying to figure out, which one of us is going to be the richest. But before that, we're behind bike sheds, shirts tucked out, face covered in kisses. I said I need to fall in love with this world again. I'm mimed because I never knew the songs. I see things the way I used to see them when I was 10. The playground. That's where we all really belong. Thank you.
He needs some noise. Make some noise for Hussein Manaway, please.
Thank you so much to Yasmin back there in our social hub looking after things on Facebook for us. Thanks to Hussein. If you just tuned in, by the way, you are listening to a very special programme live on BBC Radio 1 Extra, and we're also on the BBC Asian Network.
Hello, I'm Twin and I'm here with Brigitte and a live studio audience. Make some noise. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Getting better at that now.
Yeah, man. We're here with you till 10 this evening. This is a convo that could go on for ages, and it will on all of the social media. Please get involved if you're listening at home. We're focusing on mental health within the Black and Asian communities and getting you talking about what's going on inside our heads. So we're asking for your experiences of trying to get help once you actually realise you might be dealing with mental health problems. Remember, we want to hear from you on this. Is this something that you've experienced? We mentioned earlier, Dawn was talking about the timing and, you know, how late it is that it happens. Was that the case for you if you're listening? 8811, please text us, or you can tweet at 1xtra, or you can text BBC Asian Network. And if you do either of those, please use the hashtag 1extratalk. And you can join the conversation on the 1Extra or Asian Network Facebook page as well, where you can also watch us live if you're listening. So talk to us, and more importantly, talk to each other about this all as well.
So still with us this evening, we are joined by BAFTA award-winning actor Adam Deacon. That was a bit lukewarm. How about UK rapper Nole? Better. Councillor Rupa Bhatia is with us. 1Extra and Asian Network's DJ Mimshake. And we also got Dawn, Estefan and Rapman. Make some noise.
So we're asking for your experiences in trying to get help for mental illness. Now, we talked a little bit about your experience, Adam. What was the actual point? Where was the point in which it was like, you know what? Too much now. I need to actually get professional help for this.
I don't know the exact point of it. It was just when it was getting too much. As in, I think what happened with me is, if I'm being honest, I think the creativeness that I've always had in my mind went a bit too far. And so there was a bit of a blur between reality at the time and all these thoughts I had in my mind. So for me, I thought what I was putting out there and what I was talking about, I'm allowed to do this. Like, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I didn't see any harm in it. I didn't really feel like it was a breakdown. I thought like, this is just me talking. And it wasn't until things... Yeah, there was one day in particular where I just felt lost. Like, I just felt like there's all these thoughts going on in my head and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I've already spoke to my friends about it by this point. It took me a long time to talk to my friends about it, but by this point, I've already had these discussions and it was like, well, what do I do? What do I do? And
what sparked it? What sparked the kind of definition of being ill for you and knowing you needed help?
Because...
Was it when it felt too much? Was it a specific conversation or situation?
Yeah, it was kind of like not knowing what to do, if that makes sense. Like, feeling like I was so lost and I felt like like the paranoia was at another level at that point. And so I felt like there was people, I was in beef with people that I wasn't in beef with, and all this crazy stuff was going on in my head. And it was a point where I literally broke down to a close friend, Michael Vu, co-writer of Another Hood with me. He's, you know, we've been so close for a very long time, and he was someone that I could just break the realness down to. And he was like, let's just go to hospital and talk to them. Like, what is the big thing? But the thing is, like, a point that Nole made was that this was going on, like, for about 1.5 years before the whole breakdown. The fact of it is that for about 6 months, I felt differently. I felt down, and I didn't know what it was. And friends around me and my mum was like, look, go to the doctor. I didn't want to go to the doctor because of that stigma, and because I didn't want on my record that he's like all this antidepressants and all this stuff. I really didn't want it.
I could see Rupa next to you nodding away, and Rupa, you must hear this story just like Adam was saying.
Can I just say in one thing that the point I was making is that after this time of kind of knowing that I have to go to the doctor and building up that courage to go to them, I went to the doctor. And to be honest, like, the first thing he said was like, what are you talking about? You look cool, man. I saw you on TV the other day. Like, you're fine, man.
Exactly.
And like, I was like, what? So he literally done that same thing. He gave me some antidepressants, and I was like, this ain't, I need a bit more help, man. I need some counselling or something. Because there was a lot of stuff in my past that had to come out, and I was bottling all this. So I just think if someone's gonna build up the courage and we're saying, get rid of the stigma and people need to talk about it, well then, make sure things are in place then when someone does, like, go there and talk about it. Like, don't wait until it gets too late. That's what I think.
Rupa, you're listening to all of this. You're nodding away. What's your reaction?
I mean, from my point of view, I think a lot of people do that. A lot of people, what they do is they suppress their feelings. They're suppressing how they feel, all the stuff that's going on for them. Their self-worth is really, really low. And they're not recognising that it is depression, that they are going through all these things, and they're not seeking professional help. Now, a lot of people, and I think Dawn picked up on this before, forget that you know, there are people out there to help you. You know, going to the doctor, and like you said, you were misdiagnosed with just depression and given some tablets, you can actually go and talk to people about it. 9 times out of 10, there is, you know, a root to a problem. Like Nim mentioned, there's always something that's gone on. There's something that's happened that might have triggered something that could have been picked up a lot earlier, and then you could have got your treatment a lot earlier. But unfortunately,
it feels like all the people that I've spoken to on this journey have kind of gone through that same thing of that. It seems to you only get the help when it's gone way
too
past
far.
that point.
Yeah, and I think it is because of the stigma. I think a lot of people, because of that stigma, they don't want that attached to. It's not.
Can I just bring Mim in here? Because how did you seek help? Who supported you?
So I went through my whole life with this for 25 years, and I lost my nan last year, who took on the job of being my mum. And as soon as she went, I was just there like, whoa, it's me. You know, there's no, I've never met my dad. I haven't met him to this day, so I don't know where he is. And my mum's the way she is. So that, I had to go, whoa, okay, I'm here. I want to figure out what's happened. So after figuring out what's happened, I just allowed myself to feel it, rather than pushing it away and be like, oh, I know so many people that have grown up as only children or as orphans and don't know their parents. I just decided to own how I was feeling and honouring it. And I think that was probably the most liberating thing I could do, because I think if I didn't make this video called Letter to My Mother, where I speak about all of these things,
Big video.
and thank you, and use this artistic gift in me to express how I'm feeling about something, if I never done that, I'd be doing a disservice to myself, because I'd be living with something that could be just held in for such a long period that I don't know when that is going to explode, and explode in a wrong way. So be able to give it out as a gift and be like, look, this is what I'm going through. You don't see any of this what I'm going through, but we're all human and we all go through these things. I was able to speak to someone quite close, a mentor, and just have a conversation and not go, I'm not talking about work today. I'm not talking about the plans of what we're going with my career. I want to talk about how I'm feeling. And right now, it's not so good.
And for you, Nole, when we mentioned it to the audience about people who were kind of indirectly affected by mental health, Obviously, your dad's experience, you kind
Yeah.
of have gone through a similar situation to him. What was your outlet? Who helped you?
No one helped me. I had to help myself, to be quite honest. My family's very, like, dysfunctional and kind of, like, scattered. So to be quite honest, it was me. Like, at the time, I got kicked out of my mum's when I was 15 years old. I got sent to live with my dad. Obviously, my dad was suffering from schizophrenia, and because he was suffering from schizophrenia, he couldn't handle the fact. I feel like it goes back to what you were saying, Ratman, about men, like they like to feel strong. And because my father couldn't really deal with the fact that he wasn't in control, like, of his own mind and his own thoughts, he, like, developed a drug habit. So that got really bad as well. So literally, I was only young, I was like 15, and it made me grow up quickly as well. Like, I was looking after my dad, you know, I had to make sure that he was taking his medication. Sometimes I'd get points where he would, you know, he'd get really angry and he'd argue with me because, you know, you have that thing, I don't need it kind of thing, like the medication. And then for me personally, that made me quite, like, it made me quite depressed. I feel like even up to now, like, I suffer from depression, but I've got a handle on it, whereas in before, I didn't really have that. Now, I'm happy because I feel like I've got control of it. Do you know what I'm saying? I still get sometimes, like, where I feel down. Do you know what I'm saying? But I just feel the way I treat it is like it's part of life, and we all get down sometimes. I feel like if you don't treat it like that, that's when it can spiral out.
How do you treat
out of
it?
control.
How do you control it? What are your methods of doing that?
You know, so I'm a real person, innit? So I'm not here to lie to anybody or front or anything. And I use my pain as my art. If you listen to my music, sometimes I've got gas tunes and that, but sometimes if you listen to a lot of my songs, like Netflix and Pills, you know, I use my pain as my art. So I kind of feel like, as well as going through the things that I've gone through and suffering from depression and dealing with my father and everything, I feel like it's been a real curse for me, but it's also been a real gift for me.
Is there anyone here in the audience who's used something, you use music?
Yeah.
Has anyone found a way to get them through and cope? Have you got any hands up? Okay, there's a girl right in the front. I think you've got red hair. Do you want to stand up for me? We'll get a microphone to you in a second.
Please keep interacting at home. At 1xCRA, we see every single tweet, or you can text us 8811, or you can watch the whole thing. Some nice outfits on this sofa and the one to my left and right.
What's your name?
On Facebook.
Hi, my name is Kirsty, and I've kind of always suffered from depression when I was about 14, and what I now use to deal with my depression is art. So I'm an illustrator, and what I do is try to depict my feelings in my art. So I create a lot of pieces where I use my emotions, and I use it as a positive way to get out negative emotions, basically. And I started kind of putting up my art pieces, and they were received kind of really well. The first piece that I put out was a self-portrait of myself crying, and I'm holding a mask. Sorry. I'm holding a mask where I'm smiling, and it was just about how a lot of us actually feel. We put on this kind of brave persona, this kind of smiling personality, when really inside we're hurting and we need a way to kind of get it out. So that's what I've used as well.
That's incredible. Anybody else? Anyone else use something, some form to help them? A lady behind you in the orange top. Do you want to stand up for me? What's your name?
I'm Christine. I suffered with anxiety and depression all my life, stemming from abuse that I went through as a kid. And the way that I've found to deal with the depression and anxiety that I still have is I use Instagram. I started using it to write posts where I didn't have anyone to talk to about what I was feeling, so I just would write posts and put it out there, so at least I was getting it out. And people started responding to it, and people started following me, and it made me feel like I had a community of people, even if it just existed online, where I could talk to people and express what I was going through. And I've developed like 30,000 people now who like follow me, and I help them see that they're not alone. And even though there was no one there for me when I was going through stuff growing up, I'm showing them that there is someone for them, and that they're not alone and they don't have to suffer in silence.
That's powerful. Thank you
Brilliant.
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for everyone getting involved. There are so many tweets. Please keep them coming. We see them all, and we will be getting to them soon. Dawn, I think that's another issue. I guess when people are feeling the things that they're feeling, outlets and ways in which they kind of release their feelings and pain. What kind of things do you hear people kind of turn to?
Well, creative things, music, writing, rapping, poetry, art, walking, running and exercise. I think what's really interesting about what's been said today is that both of the artists have said, I didn't know, I didn't know, and then suddenly it was there and I couldn't cope. But if you think about horror movies or children's stories, when they want to make you feel frightened, the thing that they do is that everything's kind of there in the background, right? And it's not named, it doesn't have a name or anything, and then it jumps out at you, right? And then it has that bang effect, okay? When you experience bad things, negative things in your life, things that affect you adversely emotionally, and you push them down, okay? And we do that throughout the different decades of our lives. So we start collecting the misery from when we're really young, and we keep on, each decade of your life, you keep piling it on and piling it on, you squash it down, and you say, I can cope, I'm just gonna keep going because men don't talk, or black men don't talk, or we don't talk, or our community don't talk, so you keep shoving all that stuff down, right? What happens eventually is that it says it wants to come out, and then bang. Suddenly this thing where I suddenly became depressed. It's not suddenly, it's something that's been growing steadily over a long period of time. So when people talk about expressing how their mental health and how it makes them feel better, the key is in the naming it. As soon as you see the thing that jumps out the wardrobe, it's not frightening anymore, okay? So if you have things that you're burying, if you get them out, if you lay them out, that's why, you know, therapy is a good thing, or talking to your friends is a good thing. If you lay it out, then that takes the fear away. You name it, that takes some of the power. Words are power.
Very much so. And sorry, I did want to throw to loads of the interaction just because so many are coming in. I don't want to lose that. Kalila Jade is someone who's taken a lot of comfort from hearing Nole's story. Her dad was also sectioned, and just talking about it is helping her. I guess that touches on your point in terms of, I guess, you know, when you hear someone else has gone through something you've gone through, it can open up the conversation. So it is, you know, important to have these conversations.
And I think that analogy that you just said is so great, but also the point that you made about therapy. I know so many people that in LA, you go to therapy on a regular basis, and it's so normal. They'll leave work and they'll say to their friends, I'm just going for a check-in quickly, and I'll come meet you afterwards. And there's no judgment. You do that in this country, and you tell someone you're seeing a counsellor, or you're going for therapy. Oh, what's wrong with you, bruv? Yeah. You're right. That's the response. I'm fine. I just have this.
I think going back to that point, I think we've got to look at mental health from young. Like, we can't be waiting till people in their 30s and then saying, oh, you've got all these issues.
But another thing is some people can't even afford therapy.
Of course.
They don't even make it accessible. Like, it's meant to be...
Again, it's when it gets really bad, then you might get therapy if you've been sectioned.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? And that's not really right. So I think, I mean, I'm not at school now, but I would like to think a lot more, I hope, is getting done at school. Because even, you know, what you're saying there, I relate to that. For me, my childhood was mental. Like, I left home at 15. I had to get out of that. There was violence. My mum went through it, and it was just crazy. And what I know I did, looking back, was I just put that to the side at the age of 15, went out in the big world and just said, right, I'm on tunnel vision. I want to become an actor. I want to do music, and this is going to be tunnel vision. I'm not gonna worry about any of that. And then it kind of, as you just said, it will come back. And people used to warn me like, bro, you need to sort this out because it might come back at a later date. I didn't believe it, but it can.
Hey, just want to get a few more views in, just really quickly, Ratman. I'll come back to you. Where's Sharice? So Sharice, stand up for us. We'll just get a microphone to you, Sharice, and hear from you in a second, yeah.
Please keep getting involved at home as well, at 1xTIA. We see all your tweets, or you can text us 8811. And of course, if you have a Facebook account, this is a good use of it rather than poking. Have a watch on the 1Extra Facebook page or the Asian Network page as well, because we're streaming all of this live.
Sharice, stand up for us. Just share a little bit about your story.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Sharice Foster. Recently, I've been involved in a documentary on BBC One called Mind of a Marathon, where I took a step to actually do running to see if it could help my mental health. I will say it absolutely has definitely helped me. I never believed it. I didn't think that running could help me mentally. I was like, I don't get out, especially with like Afro-Caribbean families, communities. You know, I don't know about Asian, but we don't want to get out. We don't want to run in the cold. We don't want to... I don't see much of us running. Every time it's like raining, I'm like, I would not be doing that. But I'm telling you, I'm a heat freak. I love the warmth. I love comfort zone. But getting out there in the mountains, getting out there in the grass, the green, the rain actually helped me find an escape route to my problems. Like I've been suffering depression and anxiety, anxiety for the past few years, and I was not like, I have panic attacks and stuff like that, and it wasn't happening to me before a few years ago. And I've been depressed like since I was 13 years old, been bullied in school, just a bunch of things. And when you mention bullying, people think, bullying, but I'm serious, like it really can affect people. People should take bullying much more serious than you actually genuinely take it. I was bullied severely. I thought people would come to school for me, not for education, and it just, my mum didn't understand it. My mum was like, oh, do this and do that, or oh, it's all right. Because my mum, she never got bullied. She was a popular girl. I wasn't, so she didn't really understand it. But I found myself like fighting everybody. Like in year 9, I just went crazy. I was like, well, I wouldn't say I went crazy, but I felt like I had to defend myself. So I was so defensive. Anybody would say anything to me, I was fighting everybody. And then it was worse. I tried to commit suicide like 3 different times, and I just didn't feel like I wanted to be on the earth anymore. Like I would tell my mum, I don't want to be here. She's like, what do you mean? I don't want to be here. And even up until like last year, I had an episode. Like I haven't, like I'm finding ways to cope. I'm not over it yet. I have days where I don't want to be on this earth, and I have a good life. I'm trying to build a great life. I'm a singer. I do what I do. I've been involved in like other TV programs like X Factor and stuff like that. But it's like I'm fighting for my dreams. But I feel like at some point, I love music from the bottom of my heart, but I felt like even music was a chore for me. Even I hated music at one point. So some people can escape with music. For me, I think when I'm depressed or when I'm stressed, I actually need a break. I don't want to listen to any music.
So I've got to ask Rupert to jump in there. Apologies. Yeah. A lot of people can relate to being at that point. What do you do for help when you get to that point?
There's a lot of different things that you can do. I mean, what people don't realise is talking therapy really can help you, like going to counselling or, you know, and I know we mentioned that it can be very expensive, but one of the things it can do is help you get to the root of why you're feeling like that.
Talking did help me, actually, just for someone to listen.
Yeah, just having someone there just to listen to. And I think what people don't realise is 9 times out of 10, how many times have we been listened to, really? And how I get so many people that come to me that have never really talked about your feelings. So when you're asking someone, how do you feel? And they're sitting there going, well, I'm okay. And you're like, no, but how do you really feel? You don't know how someone feels. How many times do we sit there and ask someone, how are you this morning? And go, okay, yeah, great. And we walk off. We don't actually ask people questions to listen. So
and
even
can I make a quick point?
Yeah, sure.
With me, the happier I was the saddest I was. If you saw me, I would be the loudest person laughing because I was actually depressed.
And that's one of the things people do to mask depression,
well, that's
mask
really
things,
funny that
isn't
you
it?
said that, because there's the Maya Angelou poem called The Mask, and in one of the lines she says, you know, I laugh so much I almost choked to death.
Yeah.
And that's really very much, you know, part of the kind of the exterior that we wear to survive. Can I just say something really quickly about the cost of therapy, though? There are free therapy services as well. They're difficult. The waiting lists are long, etc. You can get therapy cost-free at your GP. But also, you know, ladies, firstly, you know, how much does it cost you roughly to get your nails done every week? £35, if you're lucky, okay, right? I know guys, no, sorry, I'm running it sort of. I know guys that buy, like my brother's a sneaker freak. He used to buy trainers like every other week, okay? So, your mind, right, we're really concerned about how thin we are, how long our hair is, how beautiful we are and stuff, but the most important, the most powerful thing that we've got, the most powerful muscle that we have is here. And if this doesn't work properly, you can't do any of the things that you aspire to do.
Can I just say thank you to Cherise? Thank you so much. Ratman, you've been hearing all of this. What's your view on, you know, just really trying to do something to help you through those tough times?
First of all, Adam, you said that that was your close friend. Why did it take so long to speak to him?
Because I weren't letting anyone in.
This is what I'm
to be honest.
saying.
I wasn't letting anyone in.
This is what I'm
they
saying.
knocked, like people were knocking on my door, but that is the thing, and that slightly, I kind of have a bit of an issue with that last point in the sense of, I understand it's all good to say, oh, well, you know, you spend £35 on a haircut, or a boy will spend money on trainers. But what I'm trying to say is that, as a boy, for instance, I can only talk as a man, right? You're not, until something happens, you're not thinking, oh, man, I better put some money investment into counselling because it might be an issue in the future.
It's not.
The fact of it is that most people will not invest money into it until it happens. That's just the realness of it. So what I'm saying is that when you are in a point where you're like, whoa, I need help now, yeah, then really and truly, we can talk about the stigma all day long, and we can have William and Harry talking about it, and it's all great, yeah? But, right, yeah.
No, don't knock the rails, man. They've been doing a lot, man. They've done a lot.
They can do a lot, though, can't they?
That wasn't I'm actually picking up. I think it's amazing for the royal family to be talking about it.
So can I jump in? Can I jump in? Let me ask her.
I want to hear what the average people, let's be honest about this. If a royal family has a problem, they're going to get help.
Yeah.
The most, if we're talking about the black and Asian community,
yeah.
You need...
So, but, okay, fair point. Sorry, please, Adam, I do want to tell, please, Adam, I really want to ask an important question to Ratman, because, I mean, you went through a very specific situation. If you could rewind back to that time when you got that call from your friend, and this is from someone that you assumed you were close to, what would have been different about your friendship and the way you handled your interaction with him beforehand?
You know what, I used to kind of rubbish everything off, like, oh, like, what, go on, man? Oh, man, I'm feeling down, man. I'll get over it, man. Man up. And I was really that guy. And a lot of us were like, there's a circle, and I would listen more now. Like, I'd actually, this was when I was very uneducated on mental. So it was like, I used to kind of dismiss everything as minor. That would be the biggest word to come out of my mouth when someone would tell me I'm feeling this way. So if I could rewind it back now, I'll be like, you know what, give me a minute. Sit down, what's going on? I'll get details, you know, try to talk him through it. Because when I confronted him, he was like, oh, every time I call you lot, it's a minor, everything's a minor to you lot, well, it's not a minor to me. And certain things that I might be on top of right now. If I see someone else not dealing with it, I might look at it as well, it's a minor because it's not a big deal to me. But everyone has their individual fight, so I realized over the time, what is important to him is what's important to him. How can I dare call it a minor? It's not affecting me. So, as I said, I've grown a lot from then. But if I could rewind it now, like any time, if I see that anyone's moving funny, I'd always intercept. Like, are you all right? How's everything going? So,
well, definitely
you have to learn, man.
Definitely going to come back to
so
that
much
one.
To talk about,
and
right?
just want to say, don't forget, if you all talk over each other, we can't hear you. So please, I know it's really good to hear from all of you, but just take a little breath. Don't forget, if you want to get some more information, there is lots on our Facebook page. So just click on the link which says My Mind and We, and there's loads of advice on dealing with mental health issues.
Yeah, man. Right after this next song, we'll be asking, is there more stigma attached to health problems in the black and Asian communities? And is it harder to open up and talk about your feelings? It's a big question. I know there's a lot. Okay, we'll definitely be getting to that. Don't forget, again, we want to hear from you. 88111 to text. Please keep your comments rolling in. The Twitter's working. I can see it, like, now. I wasn't able to see it before. At 1xTRA or at BBC Asian Network.
And if you're watching this on Facebook Live, Yasmin Evans will be going through some of your comments in the social hub. But right now here on 1Extra and the Asian Network, we have got a special live performance for you from Nick Brewer.
How you lot doing, all right? Yeah? All right, cool. Bear with me, because this is a spoken word that I've written, and I only finished it yesterday, so I hope I remember it, but yeah. It's called Talk About It. Anxiety is something that I've felt for most of my life. Sometimes it stopped me from going outside. I've often struggled to sleep at night, and at points I ain't been eating right. It's a fear that's gripped me deep inside and not let go. I felt like giving up because I lost control. And when the panic attacks got involved, I didn't know what to do. As a teenager, I found it hard to talk about, so nobody knew. I just tried telling myself, I'm not mentally ill or nothing. I'm just struggling to deal with something. And that's what life is. When you hit crisis, you grit your teeth and keep grinding. It ain't no time for whining like, come on, Nick, you're supposed to be a man. Why are you crying? But honestly, that didn't work for me. My heart would beat so fast that it was hurting me. And the rush of blood to my head would almost turn me burgundy, filled with fear and uncertainty. Going through life, worrying like I'm gonna end up doing nothing with mine. Anxiety hit me like a sharp pain in my chest, and I said to myself that I can't take it again. I'd had enough. So I decided to talk to someone. I felt really embarrassed and I didn't know what to say, because lies in my head said that I'm not the same. And exposing this weakness might cause a lot of pain, like, imagine if they laugh and tell me, jog on, mate. But they didn't. I spoke and they listened. And for the first time, I felt like I could escape from this prison that my mind had me live in. That's not to say that anxiety just went away and never came again, but I was free from the burden. See, before I was feeling so certain that I was all alone. But now I'm no longer fooled. I know that people care and people can relate. And while it might not be the easiest thing to say, it's important that we start talking. Yeah, it might feel awkward at first, but the more we converse, I'm sure that the talking won't cause any hurt. So I hope we can open up. I know it's tough, and understandably, it's something you don't want to rush. That's fine. Take your time. But you ain't got to let it define you, even though it will try to. See, my anxiety would never have let me stand on this stage and ramble away. But I can honestly say that talking with people is part of the reason that I can stand here today. So let's talk about it. Thank you.
I say thank you so much to Yasmin Evans looking after things on Facebook for us, and also to Nick Brewer. He was amazing, wasn't he, guys? It was just absolutely amazing. Thank you. Now, if you just tuned in, you're listening into a really special programme live on BBC Radio 1 Extra and BBC Asian Network.
Yeah, man. It's Twin here. I'm with Brigitte and a live studio audience. We're still here,
I like
yeah?
how you say my name, by the way.
Brigitte. Brigitte. I am. Studio audience, make some noise. We're here with you until 10. We could talk about this for hours, right? Yeah, man. We're focusing on mental health within the Black and Asian communities and getting you talking about what's really going on inside our head. Remember, we want to hear from you on this, 8811 on text, and you can tweet us at 1xTRA or BBC Asian Network. Please use the hashtag 1extratalk. Some really interesting tweets are coming in. Hello to Cal, who's listening. Reading has helped her a great deal, reading about everyday lives and how people have managed their own lives. Because sometimes it can get too much, right? And there's something we're about to get into. Asdap has tweeted and says, in Asian communities, mental health isn't really recognised, and people often talk about it with evil and jinn in the mix as a reason for people suffering, which is something that happens in the Black community as well. You can join the conversation on 1Extra or Asian Network Facebook pages as well, where you can also watch us live. Yasmin's handling things over there. You can talk to us, and please talk to each other on those platforms as well.
So we asked people to share their own experiences of stigma surrounding mental health in the Black and Asian community.
I feel within the Black and Asian communities, there's a sense of pride, and I feel like if you admit that you do have a problem, you're frowned upon or you're looked upon as weak.
In my home, I'm told that as a Black woman, I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to nurture other people and not really take much time to think about myself.
It's often said that, Black men shouldn't cry, we shouldn't show emotion, you should just bottle everything in because you're the man of the house.
Often in the community, I think it's dismissed as something that is self-inflicted, or it's kind of has religious connotations, like, oh, it's happening for another reason that's external from your own control.
I'm Nigerian, and Christianity in Nigeria is a big thing. So if you are upset or times when you're down, it'd be oh, pray about it.
Well, we've just been hearing in those vox pops about the fact that Black men shouldn't cry and shouldn't be strong. Recent research actually suggests that 93% of people from Black and minority ethnic communities who have mental health problems face this kind of discrimination. And I'm looking at you, Rapman, because you touched on it earlier.
You know
You
what?
felt this yourself.
I'm Nigerian, and I could never go to my dad and tell him I cried. Never. This doesn't even exist.
What is it that stops you?
Yeah, no, man, from how I've been raised and how I think most black people have been raised as men, is they're not real problems. If you break your leg, that's a problem. You go to the doctor for a broken leg. You don't go to the doctor because you're feeling sad. Are you stupid? You'll get a slap. That's literally that's how we was raised as men. Like, you're meant to be the rock, the strength. How can you show weakness? The sisters are meant to be crying, not the brothers. And I don't know if it's right or wrong. It's obvious, but that's just how they know. That's how they was raised, and they've instilled it into us, and we're instilling it into our sons, and it's like a ridiculous cycle. But the mental doesn't pick gender, innit? Like, if you're going through problems, you're going through problems. I just feel like things like shows like this, I think it's good because now people are, hopefully there's one man out here watching thinking, you know what, I'm going to say something now. Because you got to get
what about you? Because you're a black woman, just at the black male perspective. Do you think it's the same for black women?
Obviously, in society, I'd be classed as black as well, yeah, but I'm mixed. Like, my mum's white. Now, I feel like, yes, like, you will get that in a lot because two of my best friends that suffer from psychosis, they're Asian. I feel like, yeah, you will get that in with certain religions and in certain races, but I feel like we're making black people sound really harsh a bit. Like, I don't think...
But they are harsh.
They are harsh. I know, because, you know, my father was black, so I know that. But I don't feel like it's like that with all black families. Like, you can't turn to someone in your black
what
family.
was interesting,
like,
what was interesting was before, you know, we got together to decide to do this, we looked at some stats, and statistically it's backed up as well.
Yeah.
That in certain communities, you know, some issues are higher than others.
African and Caribbean homes, man, Jamaican, Caribbean, African, Nigerian, doesn't make a difference. They're all kind of raised the same way. Men are meant to be the rock. You're not meant to cry.
Mim, I've got to ask you, did anyone feel they were unable to get help in your world because of these reasons or other reasons that were similar?
From an Asian perspective?
Yeah.
I can only speak from what I know, but I know that there's huge taboo around just talking about things like this to another man. And I think culturally, the reasons for that could be down to religion as such. Like, we saw certain people talking about, oh, if something's wrong with her, oh, she's been possessed by so-and-so, or a jinn has come in and done something to so-and-so, and you're like, okay, that's what you think on a much bigger spiritual, religious level, but if we break down the components of a mind, why is an individual going through that? I don't think people take that much time to look into that much detail, which I think would be the solution.
Is there anyone here in the audience who's felt that cultural stigma and been through this? There's a lady right at the front in the purple top. Can you stand up for us? Just going to get a microphone to you. Anybody else? Can we go to the guy at the back with the cap after that? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Sarah. And I think there's this cultural bias. I'm Middle Eastern. Especially in the Middle East, if you, or I should say white, if you are white and you are seen to do something bad, you are labelled as having a mental health problem. But if you come from a Middle Eastern background, Asian, black, you do something like that, oh, you're a terrorist. So raising on that issue, I think I suffered from mental health. And when I suffer from mental health, okay, I'm not labelled as a terrorist, but say if I grow up and I do something horrible, maybe that wasn't in my control, maybe it is, but if I did something horrible, I'm very scared that, oh, you're from a Middle Eastern background, you must be a terrorist, it must be your religion. They blame things like that, they blame your culture. Whereas if it's a white person, if you compare it, oh no, they have mental health problems, we have to get them help. And there's a lot of cases like that in the media as well. The media will not highlight those issues, but if it's from an ethnic minority, of course, it'll be front page news, be scared of this person, be scared of this person, look at the stereotypes. And I think that's why there's so much stigma around black and Asian communities.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your comment. Can I just want to get some more people in the crowd in. So the guy with the cap right at the back, can you stand up for me? What's your name?
Hello, sorry, my name's ICJ. I'm actually Mim Smiley. Yes, I'm sort of in between a mix of Mim and Nole. Nole is actually the first actual MC that I ever paid attention to, by the way, and she's a woman, so that narrative goes out the window. So on the religious side, so I'm a Muslim, Pakistani Muslim. Similar to Mim, I know my dad, but I never grew up with him. So I'm British, Asian, Pakistani, Muslim with a single mum. So I've got all that against me. My mum leaves home. She's depressed. I knew she's depressed. I found this out from my doctor because he said I've inherited it from her, whatnot. So I'm a songwriter. I couldn't write because people say that music is haram as well. So now I can't even write about it. Now I can't talk about it. I can't write about it. You're taking this away from me. So I've actually got a question more than anything. How did Mim, and even Noli actually, if you want to answer it as well, respond to that? Because I'm pretty sure you might have heard that as well.
Yeah, I'm a practicing Muslim to this day, and I will always say that I am one. But bro, sometimes you got to deal with things that you're going through, and if that says that if your religion tells you not to do something in a way that it's gonna benefit you for your mind to move forward, why would you be paying? I don't understand that. For me, that's a conflict. So I wrote that piece, and I used that art form as an expression to help me move forward. Because if I didn't, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know how a situation might trigger me into thinking and doing something that I'm not capable of, like having control over.
Can I just see, is there anyone else up in the crowd who's got a point to make on this? There's a girl in the red jumper at the back. We'll get a microphone to you, but in the meantime, I know, Adam, you wanted to jump in on this too.
Yeah, I think, you know, there is issues like regarding cultures. Because, you know, if I'm being honest, you only have to look in the media sometimes. If I'm going to be 100% real, it's quite strange how, and I've met the guy, I think he's a lovely guy, he's kind of taught me a lot. But there is a difference when you can have someone like Stephen Fry come out there and it's very accepted. The media will accept it, that he's got a mental health problem. So whatever he kind of does, it's acceptable. If he walks out on a job, it's acceptable. But then if someone like Frank Bruno does it, it's a headline of bonkers. So, you know, you've got to look at these kind of things. Now, obviously, that was a long time ago. But I think we have to do more in the media. For me personally, something that I learnt through my journey with it is the whole court proceedings and the justice system with mental health. I didn't understand how old school this was, yeah? Because the NHS are at a place where they're dealing with people with mental health. They will look after people with mental health. But then at the same time, the justice system don't have that. So they don't see mental health as an issue at all. So for instance, with me, I wasn't happy about it all going public, yeah? All this story that came out, I've done this, I've done that, it all came out public. Wasn't happy about it. But the benefit that I had because of that meant that a decent solicitor was going to get on my case and look into my story, which I wouldn't have had. That was on legal aid. Do you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have been in a position to have that. It was only because it made the media and he wanted to be part of that case. When I spoke to him, it was like, mate, if you didn't have this kind of media, if it wasn't out in the media, I wouldn't be able to do the case. And most black boys and Asian boys that are in the same position as you, they will be going down, because the fact of it is that it's not regarded in the justice system. Sorry to change the subject, but I think it's very important, because you've got black people and Asian people going into this system, and it's not there. It's like rules from like 500 years ago. Where
I mean, there are
you either
stats,
have
sorry
to be
to jump
insane
in, just so I can get as much information as possible. There are stats that back some of this up, actually. Now, the stats on this area of mental health are incredible when it comes to the black and ethnic minority community. Of the ethnic groups most likely to receive treatment for mental health problems, white British people were top at 13.3% compared to around 7% in minority ethnic groups, and black adults with the lowest treatment rate at 6.2%, which I found very interesting.
Can I speak? It's 57, it's something like 56.9 to 100 of black and African and African Caribbean peoples that are detained to every 100, so that's almost double than their white counterparts.
But then
So
is that down to institutionalised racism then?
Well, this is the thing. I think the conversation from the comments from the audience and the comments here on the panel, there are quite a few difficult subjects that are being intertwined. Yes, there are the level of people that are coming into the mental health system through the judiciary system, which is disproportionately high. The way that black African Caribbean and African peoples are more likely to be institutionalised rather than their white counterparts. Why is that? Are black people more crazy? No, there seems to be more a fear of blackness. So there is something to do with institutional racism, but there is an imbalance. But we can't always only point the finger outwards. We also have to look at the responsibility of the narrative that we've got in the community.
I need to bring in some other people.
Yeah.
Rupa, you want to say
I
something on
wanted
this?
to talk about being a young Asian girl being a young Asian woman, all my life didn't feel like I had a voice, not because of my parents, but generally I didn't feel like I had a voice. And I wanted to pick up on what Nim said about, you know, being Asian. There are a lot of stigmas attached in our families, and I feel like what we need to do is we need to educate our families, we need to communicate more. I think what we don't do is we don't educate our families on, I'm suffering from anxiety and this is what I do. How do you do that? How do you go home? And I think Ratman picked up on this as well. If you went home and told your dad or cried in front of your dad, you can't do that. So how can we go home and actually say to our parents, you know, I'm suffering from anxiety and this is what it is, you know? And I think this is what we need to talk about in terms of, some of my clients have come to me and said, I don't know how to tell my parents I'm suffering from anxiety. So by looking at that, they've said, you know, well, I've actually made a video, I've actually used music, I've actually written a poem, I've written my mum a letter. And I think these things are really, really important, because if we don't start educating, you know, sometimes we're not going to change the generations gone, but if we don't start educating this one here, then we're going to be in trouble in the next generation, and the next generation, and the next generation.
We're going to come to
really,
Tamina
really
in just a second, so get ready in just a moment. But there's a lady who's been waiting for a while at the back in the red top. Can you stand up for us, just heading back to the audience now?
Hi everyone, my name's Talani. Going back to the point about the parents. So I was watching 13 Reasons with my mum the other day, and sorry to spoil it for anyone, but she kills herself. I was watching it with my mum, and I was explaining it to my mum, as in like, she was depressed and she's done this. So I was like telling my mum what's happening. She was like, yes, white people, they're like that. And that's their mentality. The mentality is, it's not a black issue. It's not something that affects Nigerians, because we're strong. We don't go through things like that. And all of us here, people listening as well, I don't know you all personally, but none of us are stupid. We know. These talks are amazing, but the talks that need to be had is with our parents, because they don't know. They don't know we go through this. We all know that everybody here knows that black Asians go through mental health issues. We know that, but our parents don't know that. So it's like, if you're listening to this, bring your mum in. Oh, mum, listen to this. Listen, like, so they are aware of it as well. So it's not a shock to them, because I can't go. I've never gone through anything like that. But I can't go to my mum. She'll be like, who taught you that? That would literally be her answer. Who taught you that?
Yeah.
So they don't know these things. So the education also needs to go from us onto them. The same way you teach them WhatsApp, teach them about this as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. How do you approach that conversation? Because, I mean, there are a lot of difficult conversations we have to have with our parents. Within the black and Asian community, this is probably one of the hardest. How do you go to your parents and say, I have an issue with mental illness potentially, or you want to have a conversation with it? What is the best way to actually approach that?
I think obviously everyone's different. Everybody is different. Everyone's parents are different. But I think it's really about knowing what you want to get across, what your feelings are. So really sitting down with your parents and really saying, you know, this is what I'm going through and this is how I'm feeling, and hoping that they're going to respond in the way that you want them to. Some people use videos. There is a lot of great videos out there in different languages, on YouTube. They've got anxiety videos to explain anxiety. You know, the great performance we've had here, you know, those can be used. It's whatever works for you and your parents. Now, unfortunately, not all parents are going to listen, and so it could be difficult, but I think there's a lot of great resources out there that can help people.
No, lots of hands still going up in the audience. Can we go to Tamina next? Get a microphone to Tamina. Please stand up for us. Where's Tamina?
Not for him.
There we go. Just getting the microphone to Tamina. Don't forget that they can keep dropping us a text and tweets.
Please keep interacting with us on Twitter at 1xTIA or BBC Asian Network. Or you can hit up the Facebook as well. Loads of comments on there. And of course, you can keep texting as well. 881111.
He's had a wig out in a minute.
Tamina, can you share your experience with us?
Okay. Hello. 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 Oh, hello. Hi everyone. I'm Tamina Mia. I'm from Kent, and I'm going to share my experience with you. So first of all, who am I? I'm a campaigner. I'm a volunteer. I work with a lot of charities and organisations to campaign on a lot of issues such as mental health, racism, Islamophobia, discrimination, and also kind of represent charities and organisations in the media, do public speaking, etc. So my story is kind of a long story, so brace yourselves. I suffered from severe racism, bullying, discrimination, Islamophobia whilst I was growing up. And, you know, I went to a very upper middle class area, kind of upper middle class school, very Christian orientated. I suffered from severe racism, you know, I was the only Asian in my entire school. It was a very white school. And, you know, it really got to me. The bullying, the discrimination really got to me. We were the only Asian family in our area. And, you know, people used to push me around. They'd shove me. They'd get my milk off me. They'd throw it back in my face. And every day I'd smell of milk all day. And it wasn't a very nice smell, obviously. And, you know, I used to cry myself to sleep every day. I'd be depressed, I'd be anxiety-ridden, suicidal, you name it. And I was a very young child, you know, primary school, you'd be about 4 or 5 years old. And the bullying continued and continued. You know, I had a best friend at school. Her sister didn't like me. And every day they'd wait for me in the playground and they'd beat me to death. And even today, you know, a couple of decades on, I'm in my early 20s, I've still got the scar on my leg. And every time I look down on the scar, it reminds me of the mental kind of distraught, the horrible, nasty memories of the playground. And, you know, it gets to you. It really gets to you. It gives you nightmares. And, you know, it's horrible. Something like bullying, you know, you were saying earlier, bullying is absolutely awful. And people don't realise the link between bullying, discrimination, Islamophobia, racism, and the effect that it has on mental health. You know, as I grew up, you know, I went to a secondary school, and you know, the bullying, the harassment carried on. And you know, as time went on, people's attitudes started to change. Back in the day when I was growing up, it was about skin colour and culture. And you know, as I was growing up, kind of 2004, it was more about Islamophobia, you know, Twin Tower attacks, America. And these days it's about ISIS and Brexit and leaving and everything. So, you know, it really had a severe impact on me, and trying to access mental health services was an absolute nightmare. I suffered from severe depression and anxiety.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, but I'm just trying to get in as many as we can, so thank you so much. Rupa, where do we start with all of what Tamana was sharing? Certainly, one of the things is tackling the whole stigma issue. What's your thoughts on how you take that forward practically?
With stigma, I think it goes back to what I said about education. I think with stigmas are always going to be there unless we break them and we look at cultures ourselves. Unless we break these stigmas, they're going to always be around.
I think it's really interesting what you're saying about raising awareness and trying to educate people, because I've recently started an organisation called Survive, Achieve, Inspire, Elevate. And the idea is to take the conversation around mental health, thank you, to take the conversation around mental health into, one, secondary schools, universities, African and Caribbean community, BME communities, and allow us to actually talk about mental health. It's more than just doing a one-off event where we speak about it, but more so how we can provide help. So things like, it is expensive to get into counselling, but doing things like group therapies and allowing people to realise that, look, there's other people that look exactly like you who are going through the same issue as you. And I think one of my issues when I was going through depression and anxiety was I felt like it was only me that was going through it. And I've now been able to build a community of people who I now know they're going through it too. And being able to sit and talk to people about their own experiences and how they deal with it, that helps. But also being able to educate our parents. So one of the things I definitely want to try and do with the organisation is going into mosques and churches and talking to our elderly generation and sort of saying it's more than just a spiritual thing, but it's more us understanding together as a community so we can build that barrier, because until we do that, we can't go into mental health institutions and ask for help.
Thank you very much. Really want to get some words from our panel as well as our audience. Obviously, this conversation is obviously going to carry on. Please jump on all of our social medias and just jump in and get involved. # One Extra Talk. Ratman, as someone who experienced something so traumatic as a call from a friend who was basically about to commit suicide, what changes what last thoughts even in terms of mental health and how it's handled as a young black man? How has it changed you to have gone through something like that?
I listen more now. I don't dismiss things that might not be important to me as minor. I've done a lot of research on it. As I said, I put a song out about it called Roller Coaster. It did make me understand that, you know what, it's not something you just see on TV or it's just a white people thing, or it's real. Like, even in my little small community, like, people are going through it, and it made me realise you might look good on the outside.
Believe it or not, we're into our last couple of minutes. I'm going to give everyone 30 seconds. Mim, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to raise the point about if there's something that we can leave with today about doing, how many of us go to the gym and look after our physical health?
Yeah.
Like, all of us. So why can't we do the same thing when it comes to our mental health?
Okay.
And go and actually take out time to look after it. Be that
30 seconds,
meditation,
no
be
late.
that mindfulness, be that speaking to someone, be that whatever it is, just taking a couple of minutes out of your day to make sure you're in check.
Nole.
I totally agree with what he's saying. As I said, I've suffered with depression for a long time, and, you know, I've never accepted the medication that they've tried to give me. And the way that I deal with it, other than music, is I work out a lot. You know, I go to the gym, and the endorphins that, you know, that it releases for me, I feel on top of the world.
Thank you, Nole.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Adam, final word.
I think generally we just need more compassion to each other and to listen more to each other, just full stop. Like, and be there for each other in the sense of everyone's living these busy lives. And it's always like, even myself, like, I've got friends that are like, oh, bruv, I'm so busy, man. I've got to deal with family and this. But you know what? It's like, be there for your people. Like, however little that is.
Yeah.
Be there for people.
For me, I want to say your feelings matter. Please know that your feelings, any little feeling does matter, and there is support out there. So if you want, there is always a counsellor waiting. You know, please just book an assessment. What people don't realise is you can book an assessment, and having counselling with someone, it's really a really important relationship. Don't go to a counsellor. If you don't feel that connection, don't go back. That's fine. You really need to go to a counsellor that you have that connection with, that you feel that you can be really, really open with. And a lot of people don't know that you can go to a few different counsellors before you find that right one. So please know that you're feeling matter.
Dawn, 20 seconds.
Sorry.
Well, we just spoke about stigma. Each and every one of you, make sure that you're your own personal activist. Check what you're laughing at. When you see that someone walking along the road and they're talking to themselves, pull yourself up, pull your friends up about it. The videos that you share with each other, just make sure that we're keeping the conversation about mental health open, honest and clear.
Thank you. Wow. Amazing. So much to take away, and like I mentioned, we could have had this conversation flowing for hours. That's all we've got time for, but remember, you can continue the conversation online on the BBC One Extra and the Asian Network Facebook pages as well, plus on Twitter. And if you are on Twitter, please don't forget to use the hashtag OneExtraTalk as well.
And don't forget, if you want any more information on the One Extra homepage, you can find the link to My Mind and Me. There's loads of useful advice on there. So if you're dealing with mental health issues, there's lots there. Next on One Extra, we've got some hip-hop with DJ Semtex. On the Asian Network, we got Jasmine Takar. She's going to bring you the biggest club beats for your Friday night.
And finally, please, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone that made time to make this happen, can we have some noise and a round of applause for everyone that's on the panel? Been incredible. And thank you, everyone at home, for getting involved. Of course, please carry the conversation on all our social medias.